The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Oh dear, the sky is falling. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Freedom Forum. This is Heo Garts Manam. How do you do? So, the title of this particular stream is fucking Monday. If you didn't know, it's the Freedom Forum. I am Chicken Little because obviously the world has gone to absolute shit. You know, hand grenades in a handbasket slung to the bottom of a jerry can being thrown past the hinges of hell. That's about right. Let's see here. Congress goes and moves to ban another firearm like they ever had the fucking legal ability to do that in the first place. ATF moves to ban more parts of a firearm. Who the fuck? Oh my God, there's some dumb shit going on, brother. Hey, Kino, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, it's a shit smear, pretty much. So, I wanted to go over some sound logic and reasoning behind why I am the way I am, why I do the things I do, even though in a particular sense, legally speaking, I could do things a totally different way now. You know, it being so long since certain situations arised and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there because of other factors. Other factors I'd like to get into, like to actually talk to folks about, and tell y'all about. Like, for instance, most of you already know this. I am a suspicious observer crew kind of folks. I follow that train of thought because I do astrophysics as a hobby. So I want to know what the astrophysics community is saying. I already know what the mainstream is saying, but for those who have a slightly different thought process on it, I do. I go through and I watch their videos. Sometimes I'm really big on what they've got to say because it makes actual scientific and logical sense. Other times I'm kind of like, no, that's kind of dumb. that someone's a special Ned there. So anyways, as I said, you know, most of you know I'm a suspicious observer. And while my theories don't exactly align perfectly with Ben's, me and Ben see eye to eye on a freaking lot of things. I mean, I study the same fields. I listen to the same stuff. I read the same, I read the same information. I pay attention to it. And something he was talking about in his live stream just 10, 20 minutes ago had me thinking, you know. In the event of solar micronova and, geomagnetic induction, geomagnetic electrical induction, solar plasma arcing and all that fun shit. He was talking about how that could cause certain chemicals to become unstable and become very violently talkative, we'll say. And that this happens this could happen anyways, to certain preps that we take for granted, like freedom seeds, you know? And I thought to myself, that's kind of funny, you know? I have taken bullets and stuck them into a fire pit to see what they do, and they went off like little firecrackers, hand grenades, you know, depending on the size of the bullet. It was something to think about. And so I did some more research and more experimentation and whatnot when I was younger, mind you. Not an idiot. Even as a young man, I stayed a good fair distance back after handful of bullets in the fire inside of a tin so that it didn't lose stuff, and using my brain. But anyways, I wanted to see what the effects were, and I learned quite a bit about it, and it made me leery about having cartridges, firearms ammunition, any kind of munitions, like other than static munitions. Like, here's my point. All right. So this is what I'm saying. Now, according to Ben, something like this isn't going to be reactive because it's surrounded in the plastic insulator. It's okay. But according to the science that he's using, this would have an inducted current inside because of the brass and the lead, two different types of metals, all right, that are specifically anode and cathode in their electrical variants, we'll say, their galvanic variants. They are two different types of metals that could cause a electrovoltaic reaction. And that electrovoltaic reaction is all that's necessary to set that powder off in there. So it got me to thinking, static munitions, actual static munitions, stuff that isn't going to blow up on you, like my air gun projectiles. It can't do anything. It might get, electrically charged, and that's about it. It might get really warm, but it's lead. It's not going to go kaboom. Whereas in the event of electromagnetic plasma and, the electrically induced currents, the geomagnetic electrically induced currents, these are a bunch of blasting caps in that event. I sat there and I was like, according to the physics and the chemistry and the sciences, all the different, electricity and all that, yeah, that's not exactly safe to have. I didn't think about that. That's literally a, bunch of little black cats in a plastic box because of the way that, that particular event, that survival event could happen. And it just kind of brought to mind something that was like, wait a minute. This means I'm better prepped than a lot of people. Because folks are sitting there telling me, well, wouldn't you rather have a firearm? Yes, I would rather have a firearm. But in certain circumstances, a firearm is actually going to be a problem for you. It's going to cause you more problems than, say, like a bow and arrow or a crossbow, or for that instance, well, shucks. Now I'm starting to feel kind of all sorts of happy that I did that. An air gun is like it's that little tiny bit of security that you don't think about. There's no powder involved. It can't be ignited by electricity. It doesn't work anything off of electricity. It's all mechanical and pneumatic. You know what that means? This is an EMP-proof weapon. This is an EMP-proof weapon. It cannot be set off by an overzealously powerful EMP. Go figure. It's like a quirk of having been through the shit I've been through, put me in a more survivable kind of a situation because I can't get those others. What? That just... So I don't have a bunch, well, I do, but you know, I don't have a bunch of shrapnel grenades around that are just kind of hiding out in little plastic boxes. I've actually got something that once there's a solar event of such magnitude that it would set off your guns, you set off your bullets outside of the gun or for whatnot, I've still got something that can operate because I've still got something with ammunition. I've still got something with the potential to launch that ammunition. And it doesn't rely on chemical propellants. It relies on simple air pressure and the diesel effect. Mind-blowing. It's something that came to mind. I was like, you know, a 22 long rifle is a great firearm because of the amount of ammunition you can carry and the fact that it has just enough energy to pretty much kill any predator in North America. Pretty much. I wouldn't take it up against a bear. Wouldn't take it up against a mountain lion. But everything else, sorry, son, that's going to be dead on a doorstep. Something that came to mind, you know, when I was a young man, back when I had a firearm. I had a 22 long rifle. Matter of fact, that's what that box of bullets is from. That's actually from the 22 long rifle that I bought when I was a young man. I was about like 21, 22 years old. You know, private sale. And interestingly enough, I've still got this box of bullets. All right. The ones that are missing, those are all the rounds that I've fired. Like out of this box, those are all the rounds that I fired. I bought this box at the same time I bought that freaking rifle. Now, sure, I've also bought ammunition since then, and I fired a lot more rounds through that rifle and a lot more rounds through my dad's pistol than just, you know, the ones out of this box. But out of this box, those are all the rounds that I fired out of that. Those were all rounds I fired out of the rifle too, not just out of the pistol. I didn't shoot any of these out of the pistol. This is all out of the rifle. I used to go and take my dad's pistol and go shoot down at the canal all the time. Before that, I had a bolt action 22 long rifle, and that's where these come from. It's from that purchase. I bought that rifle and I bought these rounds at the same time. Way back when. So, you know, now I look at it, I'm like, well, it's got the same, pretty much the same potential energy as a 22 long rifle. It's the same terminal energy when you do everything right with it. And I could carry 4 times as many rounds in this as I can in this. And that started working my mind. Like, great small game, gun, can handle everything up to about the size of a wolf or a coyote. And, take a deer, and for everything else, I got the big boy. I got 2 air rifles to do the job of a very large firearm. It'll work. And then all of this starts coming out about science and about, plasma physics and solar physics and just all of that stuff starts coming out and being like almost mainstream. I won't say it's mainstream, but I'll say it's almost mainstream to the point where there's a lot of people paying attention to it. And I'm one of them. And it just started clicking to me like, dude, either this is one fucking hell of a coincidence or everything that I've done is for the one singular purpose of surviving that upcoming fuckery. And everything I'm going to do in the near future is the same. Wow. Mind blowing. So, anyways, hi, Cindy D. Hi, Andy. Good to see you. I'm just sitting here chuntering about some things, you want to come up and do all that. Links at the top of the chat. And I'm just sitting here talking about, the sky falling and stuff like that. Since the sky is going to be falling and I realize bullets might be in short supply, I also realize something else. Not everybody's going to attack you with a gun. Some of them are going to have axes. Some of them are going to have spears. Some of them are going to have swords or baseball bats. Some of them are going to have ball chain maces and stuff like that. Like just everything that worked before gunpowder still works. It's just that gunpowder is more effective. Okay? That's what people keep on forgetting about, is that it's not that it doesn't work. It's that gunpowder is more effective at doing it more quickly. That's it. That's all that there is to that. Gunpowder does it more quickly and more effectively. I've survived being stabbed, not by a freaking sword, mind you. No, not by a sword. But if you want to see about the size of a knife that I got stabbed with, and imagine that much of it went into me with probably about a 280 to 290 pound man on top of me. So you can kind of imagine how it would go in and pierce several organs and part of my digestive system, my diaphragm, because somebody was on top of me holding it into my chest as we fell, and I fell on top of it. My hand still stopped most of it, but I got that much out of it, and that's enough to do some damage. So don't let them get close. Don't let them get close. That's the whole idea behind a sword. That's the whole idea behind a rifle. That's the whole idea behind an axe or a bow and arrow. Don't let them get close. The moment you let a threat get too close, you've lost. Even if you win the altercation, you get through it and you win the fight, whatever, and you walk away or you limp away, you have lost the fight because they got close enough to hurt you. Simple thought mechanics of any kind of fight. If they've gotten close enough to actually either land a blow or pull a knife and utilize it, they are too close to you. I had to learn that hard way on the streets. I mean, I don't want to be that kind of person where I've got to worry all the time. But you got to understand, I got fucking scragged, man. Of course, I'm going to be a little bit more arm's length. That far away. Thank you. Nothing personal. Just stay that far back. You know, one of those kind of, I appreciate the hugs. I appreciate, happy and the joy, but really this far away. Just stay that 3 foot away from me. I don't need to touch you. You don't need to touch me. Once you get beyond that close, my brain starts thinking perceived threat. Either it's a threat, family, trusted friend, or somebody I'm gonna fuck. So if it's one, I'm taking it out. If it's 2 or 3, I'll tolerate it. Tolerate it because that's what you're supposed to do. And someone you're gonna fuck, well, you know how that works. That's the point of all this. You know, 3 feet on all sides. That's your personal space bubble, whatever you want to call it. Somewhere where if you violate that space, I have the legal right to whip your ass, sort of thing. I've also been doing a lot of study on incoming fire. All right. Like, what does it sound like? I already know that. I mean, come on. I lived in Los Angeles. When bullets are coming at you. When bullets are going away from you. When bullets are flying around and bouncing off of stuff and coming near you. When it's intentional and unintentional because of the environment you're in. When you come up in that kind of environment, it. It's just natural. So the different sounds. But it's good to get your brain just constantly, relearn it, rethink it, rememorize it, go through the mental process of how do I deal with it, and pretty soon you get better. It's good to do. Hey, a shift. Anyways, it's a matter of trying to survive come what may. All right. And the question isn't, whether or not you're going to have to face off against another individual human being. That's kind of like that's one of those that's going to happen in your life. Get used to the fact that these people exist and move forward because it's going to fucking happen. You're going to deal with it. The sooner you come to that recollection of shit's going to fucking slam at me and all I've got to do is defend myself, but it's a tall goddamn order. Once you get your head around all of that shit, life gets easier. It becomes more simplified. I'll say it that way. It's not so much of a hectic, is this going to happen? Am I going to be, is all this going to come down and just shit on me? And, no. It's a matter of, it's going to shit on me. Thank God I grabbed a poncho. That's the whole thing behind this. You prepare so that when the shit slides downhill, even though you're standing at the bottom, you got your muck rucks on. All right. You've got your sewer suit, as it were. You don't have to worry about the shit rolling downhill because you've got your sewer suit. Grab a poop scoot. But yeah, that's the whole idea. You actually, see, most folks think of it as I'm going to deal with it afterwards. I think of it as deal with it in the moment. And once it's no longer a problem, fuck it. It's not worth it. If you cannot overcome it, or if it's no longer an issue because you overcame it, why bother? If you can overcome it and it is still a direct threat, head on. Forget all the fucking tactics. Just go straight at them. That's the whole concept behind this. You know, don't get stuck in that medial thought process of, do I have enough? Do I not have enough? No. I'm going to do this in a manner where I'm going to spend the least that I can. I'm going to work towards the most effective in all situations, not just the one. In all situations. That's why I extol people who get firearms, because good opportunities. If you know how to store it so that it doesn't become, an issue like that. If you've got metal ammo cans, that's why the U.S. Army made metal ammo cans, because in the event of a nuclear blast or electromagnetic discharge, it would act as a Faraday cage and shroud the ammunition inside. So metal ammo cans, they ground themselves out. They don't become a straight through arc. They're a shroud. They've got a plastic inside liner, and then the outside is metal. Those are good ammo cans, and they'll protect your ammo. For everybody else, we poor civilian schmucks that have to deal with the plastic see-through acrylic that goes around the outside of the ammunition. Store it somewhere where if it goes off, it's not going to threaten your life, because there's a good possibility it's going to go off. That's just a reality. If you put electricity on a bullet, through a cartridge, it will explode. You can induce electrical currents in anything that has a duality of galvanic metal properties. Brass, for instance, will induce its own electromagnetic current if electricity is supplied. That's without any other kind of anything there, because it has two different metals, or three really, in the alloy that makes up brass. Lead normally has two different metals in the alloy. When it comes down to ammunition, there's lead and antimony. Those are the normal two metals. Sometimes you've got copper, sometimes you've got brass, but normally it's lead and antimony. So that's going to give you that kind of galvanic response. And what a galvanic response is two different types of metals that, because they are to some masses, create an electrical circuit. So the bullet and the brass create their own electrical circuit. The induced electromagnetosphere inside can heat up the powder inside until it ignites. That powder ignites and it becomes a small explosive. This is why air guns. Will this air gun end up being way overpressured because the metal heated up because it got that kind of, induced current, and it held the charge, and, grounding didn't happen immediately afterwards? Could it heat up? Yes. Could it overpressure? Sure. If it overpressures, is it going to explode? No. And I'll tell you why. They say these tanks, all right, are rated at 200 bar. That's being extremely conservative. And when I say extremely conservative, let me put it this way. 200 bar is about 3,000 psi. When you actually look at the metal, the thickness, the type, the way that it's made, they're actually rated up to 10,000 psi. It's going to take a lot more force than what that air can supply to explode the tank that's holding the pressure. The barrel itself, it can withstand up to about 3,600 psi because that's how those barrels are made. They're just thick enough they can handle that. And the type of metal that they're made out of, about 3,600 psi. That's about the operating pressure of a dieseling air gun. There's a PCP dieseling air gun, about 3,000 psi released. That creates a dieseling effect, which then the expanding gases create about 3,600 psi. Now, 3,600 psi to about, not 3,600, 36,000 psi is about enough to launch that projectile at about 1,600 to 1,800 feet per second. Maximum. And you can actually test this. It's been tested all on here on the YouTubes. Folks have done it with their own air guns. They've done it with Springers. They've done it with PCPs. They've done it with all sorts of different, all right? But you can also tell from your ear when that slug goes transonic. If you hit a piece of wood or you hit a piece of steel with it, you're going to hear a crack and you're going to hear the thump at about the same time because it's echoing back at you from the target. So you're going to hear the thump, which on steel is a ping. All right. It's a ringing ping, but you're going to hear that. And then you're going to also hear crack right about the same time. And that's how I can tell that the rounds out of my air gun are going transonic. At the distance that I'm shooting at the target out there, which is roughly 20 yards, okay, about 20 yards, it's still transonic. That thing is moving so fast that it's burying itself this far into that tree back there. And that's a 25 caliber. It's just a little tiny ass round. It's not doing much. But it is burying itself about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches into that tree. Maybe even 2 inches on some accounts. I've pulled out rounds that were buried 2 inches into that tree. So, and again, that's Western U. It's extremely sappy, green, hardwood. All right. It is a coniferous wood, but it is also a hardwood. And it's a sapwood too. It's one of those really sappy types of trees. You put a round into this and the sap slows it down and sucks it up, and it gives you what I showed before on one of my previous streams. They're all melted down by the way. But I made a pommel stone ingot for my pommel stone on my sword here in out of slugs I'd already shot. And they were mushroomed very heavily in this tree. So you knew all the energy was transferring. And not only was it transferring, but it was transferring uniformly. It's important when you're shooting any kind of projectile weapon. Does the energy transfer uniformly? If you're shooting a weapon that is using kinetic energy as your mainstay for doing that traumatic damage when you're hunting or, self-defense or a combat situation, you need to have a weapon that is, if it's using kinetic energy as its killing force, it needs to transfer that kinetic energy completely or as near to completion as it can within the space that you're shooting it, because that does more instantaneous trauma, more hemorrhaging, more dissolution of tissues than something that way over penetrates and dumps, maybe a tiny little fraction of its overall energy. Sure, it's still going to do a lot of damage, but most of that damage is going to be cauterized by the energy being put off by that projectile. The difference is when you're moving something much slower, it's not cauterizing, it's just ripping and tearing, punching holes. Something to think about when it comes down to air guns. They are made to kill through hemorrhage. They are made to kill through transferring just enough energy, the perfect amount of energy to cause hemorrhaging in a localized area to where it is effectively like as if you took a cannonball and shot it through there. But at the same time, you're only making a damage path about that big around, about the same size as the cannonball going, subsonic, not even subsonic, like almost thrown. Okay. About that kind of a damage path. But at the same time, you're doing it with something that's this big around. That's an air gun. Now, we move it up to, say, like 22-250 or a 250. Or a 25-250. We'll say a 25-250, same size, same caliber of round, okay? Difference is in the energy that it has in the projectile overall. So we're using a projectile per se that in the firearm that will cause that mushrooming effect or that petal effect, where the petals split off from the inside and they open up and they kind of act like little fingerlets pushing against flesh and cutting through that like a broadhead. Okay, so we're transferring much more energy, but still, this projectile is not transferring all of its energy. It's moving so fast that the projectile itself, if it's at a short enough distance, will explode on impact. And if you're at that short enough distance, yes, it will transfer all of that energy. But further out, it's still moving just so fast that it hits, penetrates, barely has time to open itself up before it's already through the target and beyond. And so it hasn't transferred all of its energy on target. But because its energy is so much greater, it cauterizes those little capillary wounds. And only the large veins and the large arteries are affected. That leads to bleeding out more slowly. It's just simple biology, and I understand it's kind of a gory little topic or whatever, but anyone who's ever hunted knows this. You shoot a deer with a bow and arrow, it might run about 10 yards and stand there for about half a minute before it collapses. You shoot a deer with a 22 long rifle, it may not even move. It'll just kind of look around and be like, what the hell was that? And then fall over dead. You shoot a deer with a 30-06 and it goes 10 feet up in the air and then takes off running. And you don't know if you made a good shot until you walk the path and you go and you track it down and you go that quarter of a mile or whatever, that deer just got scared out of its mind because it ran on adrenaline alone. And let's say you hit it in the heart. Okay. That deer still runs a quarter of a mile before collapsing dead. And you might not find it. It's because of the supersonic crack. That's one. And two, the minor hemorrhaging, which actually makes up where most of your blood really is. It's not contained in your veins, in your arteries, or in your main vital organs. It's really actually contained in your fleshy bits, the muscle. But it's in these tiny little capillaries. And if you hit that with enough energy, those capillaries shut. And they basically melt together, enclosing the blood in the capillary, making it so it doesn't have the ability to go out of the capillary and therefore has to find another route back. If you hit it with just sufficient energy to where you tear the capillary, but it doesn't close, that blood's still coming out of the capillary. So you're going to get capillary hemorrhaging at the same time as you get the larger veins hemorrhaging and the arteries hemorrhaging. That increases blood flow. That increases hemorrhage. And that means that there's less time between the projectile hitting the target, or okay, whatever, projectile hitting the creature or hitting the combatant, and that creature or combatant then expiring. That's the whole idea behind this. You're decreasing the time. That's why a 22 long rifle is so effective, because it's quiet. One, it causes less shock, less mental shock. Two, it doesn't cauterize wounds when it tracks. So it's more likely to cause that capillarial hemorrhaging. And three, 22 long rifle rounds are actually very potent. Okay, anybody who's ever gone squirrel hunting with a 22 knows this. You'll come back with a squirrel, certainly, but you may only come back with half a squirrel, depending on the round you use. You might be using a hollow point, you might be using a snub point, a round nose point, which in that respect, a round nose point is going to bring you back more game. Because like I said, it's the size of the bullet and how much energy you're dumping. Yeah, you're going to have the squirrel's going to run off because you didn't dump all the energy in it. At the same time, it hemorrhages slower. You're still preserving more muscle mass, more meat. Now, if you hit that with a hollow point, you're preserving less meat, but it's an instant death because the animal is not large enough to be able to withstand the impact from that and all of the energy being dumped out of that. It can withstand that small fraction for a short amount of time, but it can't withstand that greater amount of energy over that same short amount of time. And that's what I'm talking about here. It's terminal performance. When it comes down to firearm, air gun, we all know about terminal performance. It's, so therein lies my quandary. Firearms are great, but they have their flaws. And people don't want to look at that because it's easy. It's easier. Oh, I don't have to sit there and pump on this air gun all fucking day. I don't have to buy all these extra expensive compressors, and then when my electricity goes out, I can't fill up my air tanks. Those are excuses. That's bullshit that you tell yourself in order to feel okay with the procrastination and the allowing of things to not happen. That's what that is. I mean, let me put it this way. I've told you all about this air gun. This is my 50 caliber Samyang. This air gun will drop any animal in North America and most animals on the African continent, excluding elephants. Yes, an air gun. So again, it comes down to a difference of not so much the air gun itself. It's the person. It's the NOT, as it were. All right. Yeah, it comes down to the individual who has the bugger hook on the bang switch. That's what it comes down to. Because it doesn't matter if it's a firearm or an air gun. Air gun, extremely precise. extremely precise. And you can be precise with it standing. You can hit a target as big as my hand standing from 25 yards. So imagine, if you will, that kind of accuracy versus you might get one round on target, but it might not be entirely effective. Sure, it'll injure the individual and yeah, it's going to hurt. But 5 rounds on target, that's going to kill. And in an absolute knockdown, drag out, shit hit the fan real fucking hard, and I ain't got any cleanser for the fan blades situation. You don't want to have a situation where you can't turn your back to something that you've already gone and dispatched. You want to be able to have that mobility of shoot, observe, orientate, recenter, and fire. You know, it's that simple. Just bang, 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 done. No more threat. Not bang. Are you going to get up? Are you going to get up? Are you going to get up? Bang. Are you going to get up? Are you going to get up? Bang. Fuck that bullshit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Drop them. There you go. Rip curl. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you've got to hunt. You know, hunting, you need to have meat in your diet. You've got to have that, the minerals that you get from bone broth. Believe it or don't, in an absolute shit, it's a fan situation. You are not going to have supplements. Your supplement stock that you have stashed away is probably going to go bad. And the reason why I know this is because I myself used to take supplements. And I'm the kind of person that hangs on to every fucking thing. Guess what happened to my nitric oxide? It turned to mold. Guess what happened to my Centrum Silver and my Centrum for men over 30? Turned to mold. And that's what I'm saying. You cannot protect everything. But you can protect this. And you can protect this. Your brain and your life. That's what you can protect. An air gun certainly can do that. Even if it is, for that matter, on aesthetics alone. All right? On aesthetics alone, this looks scary enough for somebody to stop for a second and go, is that a fucking real gun? My Truth Finder, I've seen you before. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take a risk, but you screw up and you're gone. Okay, just remember. No porn bombing, and just respect the panel in the chat. That's all it is.
Hey man, what's going on?
Hi.
Do you think it's wise to show a gun on YouTube?
A gun?
Yeah,
Well, it depends on the gun.
After what you did, because back in the 90s, you killed a man with a shotgun, and now you are parading a gun around on YouTube. What do you think people would think?
I killed a man with a shotgun? No, I didn't.
Yeah, back in the 1990s.
No, I didn't.
1999.
Dude.
1999.
In 99, I was literally in freaking Los Angeles. Going to middle school.
Exactly. That at that age in middle school, that's where you shot your teacher on the head.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. And now you're parading the gun around. And in the courtroom, apparently you was laughing and they saying, "I don't give a fuck. I just
Okay,
hate you,
so
that
you're
teacher and that."
making unfounded accusations.
It's
You
the
don't even
truth.
know me
It's
from
your
Adam.
face. And when I come across your stream, I'm just thinking, seriously, I spoke about this guy before on my panel last week, and now he's showing a gun on the internet.
Who cares?
Like, how did you even get a firearms license?
Welcome to America.
Like, you still get a firearms license even though you killed a man.
Brother, you're in the UK. I'm in America.
Alright, but bro, I got evidence. I got evidence to prove it on my
All
channel.
right,
I
thank you,
literally
bud. Good knowledge. Good knowledge. Thank you. See, this is what I mean about mods. My mods are actually up to par and know their shit. They check you out and they get back to me really quick. Thank you, bud. I'm not being exposed. I've exposed myself, as in, my name is Blaine Price, as in Blaine Stewart Price. And I've never, and I mean this, and will never, kill somebody for no fucking reason. And by the way, in 1999, I was 12 years old. How the fuck did I have a shotgun in the middle of Los Angeles, dumbass? Think about it. The only person being exposed here is you for being a complete and utter fool. You don't know me from Adam. If you would have known who I was, you'd be like, no, actually, this guy's actually never shot anyone. At least not with a firearm. If you knew me. Exactly. There you go, Rip Curl. And moreover, and more importantly, yeah, this guy's from UK. He doesn't know fuck all about America. Like off the top of the hat there, you know. First, who did you get a firearms license, bruh? My Second Amendment is my firearms license. Have a nice day. My Second Amendment allows me to have swords, air guns, firearms, explosives, as long as I, don't go doing stupid shit with it. Hey, nobody gives a fuck. The only person who cares is you. And why do you care? Could it be because you can't get a firearm? And so you're insecure because you don't want to stand up to your government and tell them, no, fuck you. The Magna Carta says that I should be armed. No, Fenris, in the United States, it did not say as long as you are not a felon. It said the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Did not say as long as you're not a felon. It said shall not be infringed. Some of us take that seriously. Some of us like to go and spread disinformation, lies, and bullshit. And yeah, Truthfinder, you're not coming back up here. That's what I meant about disrespecting the panel. I'm part of the panel, dude. So as far as me owning a shotgun, I don't even own one anymore. Like last time I had a shotgun, I was probably about 8 years old, and I lived in Ogden, Utah. See, again, if you knew anything about me, you'd know that. But this is your first time ever coming onto my channel. This is probably the first you've ever heard of me, but you're coming up here to troll me. And so, yeah, again, I don't own a firearm. I have leftovers from when I had a firearm. However, I don't own a firearm now because I don't want one. There is too much hassle, too much stress to have to deal with freaking, every government bureaucracy to have a firearm. No, I'm good with that. Let's just put it this way. I've got an air gun that really will make somebody's day really bad if they attack me while I have my air gun. It's very simple. Physics doesn't give a fuck about your opinions or your politics. Physics simply is. Yeah, I'm sure he has. You know what? I'm probably, here's something for you, Fenris. He probably will do it to me. You know what's funny, though? The United States takes shit like that seriously, and they work continuously with Interpol over those sort of things. If you file a police report, even if you're outside of the freaking country, you could be in an enemy country, for fuck's sake. Interpol's still going to show up at your door. Interpol, open the door, please. Think about that. You do not want to go making false reports with any police department, any government agency in any country in the world, because we all work together on that one simple thing. If there's a criminal, we take them down, and international criminals get the same treatment. Did you know that it's an international crime to file a false police report in another country? That's going to backfire on this guy real bad because he live streamed doing it. Well, guess what? Funny thing about that is that's evidence now. They Rive dirt cheap. They're probably not even going to show up at my place because they know me. My legal status is out of question. It's not questioned because of the fact that I've already been through this rigmarole. They have records on me. They know how I react. They know who I am, and they know what my principles are. They're never going to show up at my doorstep. If they ever do show up at my doorstep, you know what they're going to do? It's going to be, Mr. Price, can we talk to you for a second? I'm going to crack the fucking window and be like, sure thing, you got a warrant? And they're going to be like, well, sir, we got a report about this place. Okay. But do you have a warrant? We don't need a warrant, sir. Yeah, you actually do. That's part of the Constitution that you've sworn to uphold. But, you keep on that level, and I'll go ahead and call the sheriff real quick. The sheriff shows up, and they're like, no, you need to go with them. Okay, well, show me a warrant. Show me the warrant writ. Okay, it's a piece of paper about yay fucking long. And it's got the judge's signature and the two witnesses. Warrant writ, and I will go peaceably. My weapons will stay at home. My dog will go with my sister. I will go peaceably. If you can show me a warrant writ that is a legal document and it is binding. Until then, it's a joke. It's all just yabba dabba 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 dabba, slapping your gums together. They're not going to show up at my house because they know me. They know about me. They know everything about me. They know that I don't have those kind of inclinations. In fact, believe it or don't, I've actually, in the past, put my own fucking ass on the line to protect other individuals who, in that particular point in time, would have actually been motivation for me to be a murderer, but I did not. Instead, I stopped another person from murdering them. So you be careful about what you accuse people of. Because that's where I walk through that bullshit. I literally walked through it already. They know who I am and they leave me alone. Because I leave them alone. Because I don't bother them. I don't do anything to have them bother me. However, those false accusations are going to get you in trouble. You go and fucking throw around false accusations and try to slander somebody. And then you try to come back up on their... That's not going to happen, dude. It's not going to happen ever again. You burnt yourself. And that's the way I look at it. All right? Now, anybody else, you're welcome to come up here. But Truthfinder UK, you're not coming back up here. Just simply put, because I entertained it. All right. I went outside of the rules of this particular forum to entertain it. And you showed me why I shouldn't have. That's fine. But just remember something. You're too much of a pussy to go and get your firearms license. Even though it's your right because of the Magna Carta. And that's what's called foundational law. Foundational law is the basis by which all other laws are considered. You're supposed to be able to keep arms for the defense of the country. And that's where our foundation for our Constitution comes from here in America. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed is simply stating that a right that was already acquiesced by another government is something that we cannot take away from people. It should not be. It cannot be. Therefore, it shall not be. It is law that it cannot be. So anyways, I like these trolls for this one reason. They get me thinking. They get me going off on these tangents, bro. It gets me thinking about that sort of shit. Like, should you have a sword? Yes. If you're a fucking American, you should have a sword. Should you have a gun? Yes. If you're an American, you should have a fucking gun. Should you have an axe? Yes. If you're fucking human, you should have an axe. Should you have a pocket knife? Yes. If you're a human being, you should have a pocket knife. This is why weapons are important. Because they're not weapons. They're tools. Weapon is a word, a colloquialism, for a tool that has a specific purpose. That's it. Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of these guys. Most of them are actually not from the UK. I could hear it in dude's voice. He was obviously perturbed. It's something that you can't fake with an AI. You know, the auto-tune crap AI bullshit. You can't fake it with that. You can't do deep fake with that because of the inflections in your voice and something that happens while you're speaking. And it's indigenous to the region you're from. Okay, that's literally how it is. It's to the people that you are descendant of and the region you're from. So you look at my mannerisms, you could tell I've got some LA. In fact, I've got a lot of LA. You could also tell that there's some country in there. There's some damn sure country in there. You could also tell from my mannerisms that there's also some East Coast. Funny enough. My dad was born in Caribou, Maine. Let that blow your mind. You can see that there are certain aspects to my character that are military in their ways. That's mostly actually from my family. It's not from me. My whole family are, we're all big military buffs. I'm just more on the Minuteman side of things because I couldn't serve in the military, even though I tried again and again and again and again. Wasn't good enough. I was like, fine. If I'm not good enough, I'll wait till you come get me. And that's the way I looked at it, because I'm not going to continue to do that which is insane. And insanity is simply doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? So the idea is, don't do it again. After you've confirmed your hypothesis through experimentation, you can consider it verified. Anything beyond that is just playing with yourself. So that's the way I look at it, just don't be playing with yourself. Yeah. There is nothing of what he said that would ever be any kind of foundation. Rip. There's none. As a matter of fact, the last time I shot a shotgun, I was 9 years old. Oh, between 8 and 9. And we were at a buddy's ranch, or my dad's buddy's ranch. And we went out there to shoot some skeet and have a barbecue picnic sort of thing. And then right after we went duck hunting, and I didn't get a shotgun because I was 9. So the last time I shot a shotgun, I was 9 years old. The last time I shot a rifle would be probably 2017. August 2017. Last time I shot a firearm rifle. After that, I shot a pistol quite a lot, but last time I shot a firearms rifle. Last time I shot a shotgun was I was 9, and I don't particularly like shotguns. I like to know where my projectile's going. It's a thing for me. I want to know where's that projectile going? What's it stopping in? How far can it go if it doesn't stop? Things like that. It's important to me. I want to know what that bullet's doing all the way through its trajectory. Some people don't give a fuck. Honestly, I'm not mad at them. I like air guns for the reason specific that I know where that bullet's going. I don't have to track for, 2.5 miles to go find a freaking bullet in the sand. And I've done it before. A lot. Just to make sure it stopped here. While hunting, mind you, of all the fucking things. You're out there hunting, you still go and you find your projectiles. Funny enough, that was half of my hunting time out there was spent finding the projectiles I'd fired. That's how meticulous I am with an air gun. That's how meticulous I am with a firearm. You know, most folks are like, "Oh, it's a bullet, it's gone." No, that's valuable lead. I'm gonna hunt that down. I'm gonna melt it down and turn it into a weight. Use it for fishing. Using your mind. See, that's my point. So, if I'd ever shot somebody, one, I would know I'd done it. Two, I have the personal investment in my own honor to stand there and take the fucking heat. So fuck your bullshit. That's what I'm on about. Like, dude, you want to accuse me of something, you better be ready for the onslaught. Because I'm going to destroy you. And if you don't have the personal feel goods to feel bad about that, all I can say is you're going to have a shitty life. And I've already won. That's the way I look at it. So, as far as I'm concerned, I will continue to have my swords. I will continue to have my rifles. I will continue to have my fucking bug out bag, my dog, and my fucking ukulele, motherfuckers. Sprechen Sie Weitchen. A guitar. It's good to keep your mind off the boredom when you ain't got electricity. That's why it's actually sitting here, because, you know, electricity goes down on the mountainside all the time. So I sit there and I pick a little bit in the guitar. You know, it's better to pick your guitar than it is to pick your nose. So, any Hoosiers, now that we've dealt with the trolls, we've dealt with the dumbassery, and all that's left is just the fact that the sky is falling because everybody's doing this panicky bullshit like you did this and you did that and you're all the problem. No, motherfucker. Allow me to show you the truth. This is how it works. I don't start no shit because I don't want there to be no shit. But if somebody starts some shit with me, by God, you better run. And run far and run fast and make sure you can learn how to fly, motherfucker. Because that's the only place you won't find me is in the air. That's what makes me such a scary person. I'm just like, all of a sudden, out of the blue, hello, hi, I'm Blaine. You had something to say to me. Just like out of the fucking blue. Just show up out of nowhere and be like, hi. You know how many times I've done that to people? They've talked shit to me on the internet. It was years ago when I did this, but they talk shit to me on the internet, and I just, out of the fucking blue, boom, I'm standing there like, wait, you're the guardsman, aren't you? And I'm like, no. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I remember you. That's what I'm talking about. See, it's one of those, you got something to say. One of these days, you might find out how much of a mistake it was to tell me something that wasn't even true. Because I'm going to show up one day and just be like, hey, well, you were talking about that one thing. You remember? You know that never happened, right? And I could prove it. And you know, I've actually gotten into fistfights with people because of this sort of crap, because I confronted them about what they had to say about me, some bullshit, and I said what I was going to say, and then they didn't like what I had to say. So as I'm walking away, they smack me in the back of the head. And I have this spot on the back of my head where it's kind of a soft spot. You hit me in that soft spot, I blank out, and whatever happens, happens. Okay, fair warning to people, don't hit me in the back of the head. The last time I got hit in the back of the head, I fucked someone up, and he was a lot bigger than me. That's why I don't like to fight, because people like to target the back of your head when you're fighting. And I'm holding back a lot when I'm fighting. Doesn't matter whether I'm fighting for my life or not, I'm holding back a lot because I really don't want to kill somebody. I am holding back a fuck ton. Imagine that, like, you're fighting somebody who is literally picking you apart, and they're holding back. That's a scary thought, man. That's actually what got me into the situation where I got stabbed, was because I was holding back when I was fighting. And the guy realized that I was holding back, and it scared him. That's honest to God how that went down. It scared him. Because I didn't hit him hard. I have a thing, I don't like to hit somebody hard, but boy, I hit him a lot. Now, when I says a lot, I mean a fucking lot. I put him on his ass more than once without throwing haymakers. That's what I mean. I picked the guy apart, and I don't like fighting because of that. Because it's just, to me, everything slows down to such a slow speed, I can see it happen. You know, where for other people, they see it as after effect. To me, it's instantaneous as it's going. Everything just kind of just. Imagine getting somebody throwing a punch at you like that. Dude, this fucking just, what was that? That's what it is to me. It's just, oh, I'm sorry. Was that your nose? That's what it looks like. So it's like, you know, we don't fight because I don't want to hurt you. That's the way that I looked at it, and that's the way it is to this day. I don't want to fight people because I don't want to hurt people. And inevitably, that ends up getting me hurt because they get scared because of how much I've trained in my life to be the person who doesn't hurt people. Because of my dad. Believe it or don't, my dad was a pacifist. A pacifist who loved hunting and shooting guns, getting drunk, riding dirt bikes, being an all-around redneck. Pacifist. Funniest shit you'll ever see. All of his redneck buddies are like, oh, this, that, and the other, you know. Oh, you want to fight? You know, my dad's like, no, I don't want to fight you. I'm good. Let's crack another beer. The one time I ever saw him in a bar fight, I was in the same bar fight, and we ended up mopping the floor. Him so drunk that he could only see through one eye. And me just, I blacked out. And the next thing I remembered was that I come to, and there's people laying all over the fucking ground, and like people are pointing a finger at me and saying, and I'm like, what? No. And my dad turned around at the point in time and said, no, he's defending himself. You guys fucking punched him in the back of the head. You're the dumbasses who did it. My dad even knew that rule. Don't hit the kid in the back of the head. He'll fuck you up. Honest to God, the only time I've ever seen him in a bar fight. This man literally got grabbed around the neck. And this is before I blacked out, mind you. He gets grabbed around the neck. And he just does this kind of an action. And then lets the guy fall off of him. And that's the moment where I got tapped in the back of the head. Yeah, because that's the fucked up funny part of it is there's no way that even if I had done it, who's to say? That's my point. Nobody could say because you wouldn't be a witness. I'm not stupid enough to have witnesses. On top of that, you know, in fact, it's given me the kind of the chortles, you know. I don't go looking for that kind of trouble. If I'm going to shoot somebody, it's because they attacked me, not because I'm attacking them. You can take that to the bank. I've been attacked in a place where I was staying at. I considered it my own home because the fact of the matter was it's my brother's house. I got attacked and I didn't have a firearm. I still beat the ever-loving snot out of the guy, and then he turned around and he stabbed me after taking a cheap shot. That's what I mean by I won't be taken down anymore. That's why, in a nutshell, I whooped the dude's ass. He got mad. He turned around and he got even. And when he got even, he decided to use my knife to do the job. That's why I don't let anybody get that close anymore. This guy's telling me back in 1999, I shot somebody. Dude, in 1999, I was in a mental health facility. Believe it or fucking don't. In 1999, I was in fucking just out of middle school and in a mental health facility for beating the shit out of a fucking bully. You can see that. You can look it up. 3200 Motor Avenue. Tell me what's there. Culver City, Los Angeles. Go ahead and tell me what's there. Between the time of 1999 and 2005, my entire high school, that's where I was. Go ahead and tell me how I got a shotgun there. Please. I would love to fucking know how I got a shotgun into that facility. Because unlike the airport, one, there's no fucking reason to, and two, it's goddamn impossible. So you were saying that's my point, folks. Don't listen to dumbasses who don't know fuck all. When they don't know who you are, they don't know what the fuck to say. They just say shit because it sounds good to their narrative. Instead, they find out, wait a minute, oops. I just did a dumbass. I went after a guy who will literally fucking dox himself because he doesn't give a fuck. There's nothing left for him to lose. Fucking idiot. These guys are idiots. They come after me. That's like the fucking death knell in their fucking, it's like, dude, you've got nobody else you can go after. That's why you come after me. That's literally the fucking reason, because nobody wants to come after me. So it's like everybody goes, he's like, the fucked up funny part is they've got anyone else to go after, they will. Long before they come after me. There's no point. I've got what, 300 subscribers? I'm a little fucking YouTube channel. I got 1,000,001 fucking mods in my chat. And that's just because how my mods are. They're my friends. They're actual friends. Okay? It's not like, oh, you just, you meet these people through Facebook or you meet these people through the interwebs and this, that, and the other. No. One of them is my cousin. Let that blow your mind. I use this platform to talk to my peeps, not to talk to dumbasses. But when you invade this area, when you invade this space, you make certain that you will never be allowed in it again. That's how that works. You could have just been a friend, come in here and been like, there's some nice guy. He's really peaceful, really cool, calm and collected. There's some good folks. They got some good points. Some of them are a little bit, got some rhetoric, but you know what? Who doesn't? Right? We all agree to disagree on something, but we all agree that freedom isn't free. We all agree that we need to stand up for those rights or we will not have them. We all stand up for each other because we're friends and family. We stand united. And I've said this in the past, but I'll say it again. You don't have to be in America to be an American. You don't have to be in the United States to be a United States in, okay, citizen, whatever. You don't have to be here. It's a concept, an ideal, a mindset. The freedom to be yourself. The realization of the liberties of being a human being. That makes you an American. Fuck all the extra bullshit. Some of these motherfuckers here in America are not Americans. Yeah, I said it. They are not Americans. They do not appreciate this. They do not hold to that ideal. They do not care. They don't want for it. That's fine. They don't have to be here. I'd rather take those people who want for it and bring them here. And the ones that don't want for it, export their fucking asses to China. That's the way I look at it. Export their asses to fucking the North Pole or Antarctica. Get them the fuck out of here. They can go and be, autonomous wherever they want to be, just not here. Not in our backyards. I kind of like my backyard. I keep it to myself. The few people I allow in to my home or to my yard, they meet my gun. Now, they may meet my gun on good terms. There's been several folks who come to my home and we go out in the backyard and we shoot my air guns at the freaking trees. They meet my gun. I don't think I have one instance I can say that has been an aggressive, you've met my gun situation here at this house. When I lived down there in Blythe, yeah, I was running tweakers out of that fucking place every other goddamn day. Never fired around in anger there, though. Didn't have to. You've got enough potential to actually scare the snot out of somebody. They kind of do. They take the optional and work with it. Fuck out of here because I don't want to. I don't want your trouble. I don't want to get shot. Thank you. Bye. And most of them know. You don't point a gun unless you're going to use it. I'd rather use it for the intimidation factor than having to use it for the other reasons that it can be utilized. Intimidation factor means that we both walk away home free and alive. The fact that folks actually have to use the pointy end. It's not a problem. It's a solution. But it's a solution I wish we didn't have to go to the lengths of. Some people need that physical reminder. Some people need to be reminded, that's a bad idea. Don't attack me. I've done nothing to you. I do nothing to harm others. I try to be an upright individual and be a good person. Honestly, that's what I strive for. That's what my delusions are, that I'm a good person. Because you look back at my history and you'd be like, you know, he's a relatively good guy. He just been in a lot of shit. But he's a relatively good guy. Nice to a fault, really. I've known folks from all different walks of life, all different countries. To me, the sense of liberty, that is American. It doesn't matter what country you're from. So imagine for a second what I might mean by saying that. Yeah, I've met my fair share of the I wouldn't call them Americans. I won't even call them Antifa. They're fucking. They don't even remember what the ideal of Antifa was. But I mean, they do for after a sense because what fascism actually means and what they're actually doing right now. But what the organization was originally designed for. That's not. It didn't even anti-fascist was supposed to be like a fucking joke. They weren't against fascism. They were against the people who were in power. Fascism is a standard of unity. Countrywide unity. That's what fascism is, in a nutshell. It comes from the Roman Latin word, fascia, meaning of many. That's what that means. Of many. So before you go off on a tangent and say, oh, fascist, no. Unity. Fascism is unity. By definition. Regardless of whether or not you're butthurt by it or all that shit, fascism is unity. And what we try to preach in America is unity. The Union, the Confederation, they were both united in their resolve. The 13 colonies of the United States, it's in the name. United. Come on now. Hell, and these people that, you know, they try to do this shit and they try to pawn it off on people in the United Kingdom. You know, there's a lot of people in the UK that actually have guns, have had guns for years, and they're like me, you know, they don't go around shooting up other people's property or shooting up other people's animals or shooting up other people. They go around shooting squirrels and rabbits and rats. Go figure. They're not out there shooting up the populace. And they're legal gun owners. I know of dozens of illegal gun owners in America. Folks that we will call felons with firearms. Don't go fucking shooting up the fucking local walls. They don't go taking down the local gas stations. They're not fucking causing trouble. They only want the gun to be able to protect themselves and their family in their own home. These are felons, mind you, people who went and broke the law. But they don't use guns to go and do that shit. They're not out there using those guns to do that, but they can't have them, legally speaking, outside of their home. They can't go hunting. They can't go, walk to the grocery store with it on their hip and go and buy their groceries or what. No. We can't let them do that because they were felons a long ass fucking time ago. There are over 400 million firearms in the United States, according to the data. Legally owned firearms. That's 3.5 guns for every single American citizen. And those are the legal guns. Most folks that are firearms owners, in fact, all folks that are firearms owners and felons, you won't know they have a firearm. You know why? Because it's illegal for them to have it. They're not going to tell you they have it. Duh. It's called self-incrimination and the right to not self-incriminate. Americans have that right. Sorry you don't in other countries. But here's the devil in the details, the meat in a nutshell, as it were. I don't care what other countries do. I don't care what even our own government does, because they're wrong. According to what has worked. There is physical evidence that the history is correct, and that history shows a well-armed populace is necessary to the standard and status quo of the liberties of American citizens. Knock it off. That status quo is the only thing that keeps you from being in freaking slave chains, busting rocks in a quarry. And when I says that, I mean folks who are not in prison, haven't gone broken the law in any way or shape or form. They just have debts. The only thing that stops that from happening is the fact that there are a million other motherfuckers like you, and they're all armed. Imagine that. That's why I says, get off me, softy. That, like I said, is no shotgun. That, if we can see it in the fucking light here, I was trying to do it without doing the weird shit, but here you go. That's an air gun. Cheese dick. In America, as long as it ain't shooting with powder and a primer and a firing pin, I could legally have it. As a matter of fact, as long as it's not shooting smokeless powder from inside of a cartridge, utilizing a firing pin, any felon can have it. Welcome to America. Now, if you will, oh, my back hurts. Oh, shit. That's not good. I dropped an ammunition vial. Oh, well, carry the other. As per usual, I always carry your ammunition with me. Extra, read all about it. Go, you little typhoon. Houdini's got more energy than I'd care to deal with right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the hoodoo. Ja, mein who I know. Yo, go for. Best Alfing. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes down to the sky falling. Idiots. Stupid people. They drive me insane. They drive me nuts. At the same time, I don't go after these people. I talk because that's the most that I can do because that's the most that they did. That's the way I look at it. You can talk and talk and talk. As soon as you start, slinging lead or you start throwing punches, now it's on. You might not like the words I got to say, but don't give a fuck. Thousand milligrams, motherfuckers. Nobody understands, motherfuckers. Fuck it all. Fuck it all. You know how many times, actually, that this guy's called the police on me? It's not the first time, by the way. There's 2 times individual that this has happened. Once when I was in Blythe. The cops showed up. They came down. They checked out all my fucking air guns and went, dude, you don't have a shotgun here. What the fuck is this guy talking about? I was wondering why they were saying those things. I think I'm getting it. It's not the first time this guy's fucked around and found out. I think that they have what they need in order to go after him. The only reason they haven't is because he's useful for the narrative. He's what you would call a useful idiot. And the reason they haven't come after me in full tow yet, they really got nothing that'll stick. Because I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not out there looking for trouble. I'm not out there breaking the law all the time. I fucking sit in my backyard and make steel into cool shapes. I make swords. I make knives. I've always been fascinated with a sharp edge, And not every sharp edge is a blade, by the way. This is also a sharp edge. Oh, I will rant and rave and ride on a fucking motherfucker. I tell you what. They're always trying to make my life impossibly hard. You're sitting there floating around this, and that, and the other. Watch. The most this motherfucker will do is fucking sit there, call the police, file a report, which will be false, by the way, because anybody who watches this particular stream will know that it's a false report. Then the motherfucker will go and, block the stream so that nobody can see it. By doing so, they destroy the evidence. And by destroying the evidence, now that's also a felony on top of making and filing a false report, in which case they'd be more inclined to go after this guy. Yeah, you might get out in a couple of days, but they're not going to bother me. I'll walk right through it. That's the funny shit of it, too. Walk right through it. I've literally had cops show up on my doorstep. Mr. Price, are you home? Yeah. I don't answer with, who's Mr. Price? Or depends on who's asking. I answer with, yeah. Got a warrant? And when they say no, then I say, oh, have a nice day. Turn around and walk away. Shut the window. Lock all the doors. Make sure my dog stays inside in case they decide to walk into the backyard. And if they do walk into the backyard, then I can call the sheriff's department and have them trespassed off the property. The police don't show up at my house. The FBI is not going to come to my house because they don't have enough manpower to deal with a little flimsy fuck like me. And before you ask, the local cop here, he's met me before. He doesn't think of me as any kind of threat. He doesn't think of me as any kind of problem. He's bothered me one time in order to get my identification and find out who I was because I was sitting out in front of a job I was doing. Bothered me one time. After that, never again. Never bothered me again. Just the one time. I might have been compliant, but that doesn't mean shit. I only complied with the rules I had to, which is when you are driving a motor vehicle and you are the operator of the motor vehicle and you have a driver's license and are licensed within a state to drive that and operate that vehicle, and you have cargo on board, which makes it so that you are driving. You have to actually produce the ID when they ask. If they should say, can I look back here? Can I search your vehicle? You kind of have to say yes. They don't have to ask you. They could just search the motherfucker and fuck you. So that's the reality of it. Anybody who's actually driven, been to a driving test, knows that. Getting tired of all this fucking sovereign citizen bullshit. You fucking tell me that you tell the cops that you don't need a fucking driver's license because some obscure ass fucking law that I can't find, and I've done the research. These cops, they turn around, they go back, they file a report, they come back with a warrant, and they fucking arrest your ass. It's that simple. It's easier to comply. You're less likely to have to deal with legal bullshit. And at the same time, knowing how to deal with them during that compliance is how you get out the other side. Just not dealing with the problem is kind of like having a leaky tire and driving down the road with a slow leak. You're going to have to deal with that at some point. And it's better to pull over, change it out for the spare, you know. But if you don't want to do all that work, you still have to sit there and pump the tire up every couple of dozen miles or whatever. Same thing applies. It's constant maintenance. You get around it the first time. Now you've got to get it around it again. You've got to get it around it again. And pretty soon it's coming back and biting you in the ass. Instead, face it head on. Knock it down a fucking couple notches, and then they don't fuck with you anymore. Because they know you. They see you for who you are. And the only thing that they're really afraid of is that there's millions like you. That's the truth of it. I'd rather be an American citizen than a sovereign citizen. As an American, I have rights. As a sovereign citizen, I don't even know what the fuck that means. You telling me you're a politician? Food for thought. That's what a sovereign citizen is in the United States. It's a politician. Which means, even though they have sovereignty, being that they are a sovereign, they are an enemy of the state. They are an enemy of the population, the public. By that very nature, you don't want to be a sovereign citizen. If you are a sovereign citizen, you are an enemy of the public. By definition. That's why I don't fucking pull that bullshit. It's just stupid. Did it once when I was a kid. I found out what the fucking law says, and I said, no, fuck that bullshit. No. We're not doing that. Not playing around with that bullshit. That's how you end up getting fucking locked in away in a deep dark hole where they will not find your ass. And you will never get a fair trial. It's just because of the fact that I have family members. I was able to get a good lawyer. It got me out of it. Because they did. They tried to fucking lock me away in a deep dark hole and swallowed the key. I learned the hard way. Don't trust anyone. Fuck this shit. Fucking lighter ain't keeping it lit. Try some match stick. Ah, much better. You're right. It worked me up. You know what's funny about that? I use it for my content. So really, it might be a win for them, but at the same time, it's a win situation for me. That's why they call me the king of trolls, because I'm untrollable. That's the funny shit of it. It's like they come after me and they're like, "What?" It worked, but it didn't work. We're not making this guy click off. We're not making this guy run away. We're not making this guy go and say, "Oh, No. They literally took away the opportunity to do it again in the future. And sure, there will be other trolls and all that fun shit, but I'll turn around and I'll use that for content on my video. And then who's winning? It becomes a question of, really, who gives a fuck? Who cares? It's their immaturity. They're giving me content. You see how that works? I'm normally a languid, kind of quiet dude. I don't like to talk too much. You'll see that in a lot of different streams that I've been on, a lot of different folks' channels and whatnot. I'm really quiet. I sit there in the background. I don't talk much. I like to listen. I like to learn. So in order to get me talking, in order to make my own content, I have to have something to go off of. That's one of the reasons why I listen and I learn, because I want to have something to go off of. Or go off on, like, somebody talking some bullshit and trying to get me into some legal battle bullshit, and all because they didn't like the big black scary rifle. You shouldn't have that because I can't have one, and you shouldn't have one. Okay, there, Hoss. Take you another toke of that there Pookie. Keep her smoking, keep her smoking. Fucking tweakers. That's the way I look at it. All these people could do whatever the fuck they want. I'm looking at survive the day to day. There's going to be psychological warfare. There's going to be all sorts of shit with that. Survive what I perceive to be an actual credible threat. I got that too. Give out my knowledge freely to those people I trust, to those people I may not even know from Adam, don't even talk to on a regular basis. Just, information, because information is power. Information is key. And if you have information that you don't share with somebody else, you're not using that power. So, good smart shit to think on in the near future. We are going to be dealing with a lot of shit coming our way. We got governments trying to breathe down our necks and make life miserable. We've got fucking leftoids sitting there telling us we can and can't have, and they're above every bit of scrutiny, but we get the fucking microscope, and fuck that bullshit, by the way. I ain't for rules for thee, but not for me kind of crap. We are equal or we are nothing. We are equal or we are enemies. Plain and simple. Rule which I live by. If you are my enemy, I will not waste my time on you. Unless, of course, you threaten my well-being, my physical well-being, in which case I will show you how much of a mistake that is. Just like anyone else should. It's called self-defense, and you have a right to it. Oh, by the way, the Second Amendment doesn't cover self-defense. It covers military action and military arms. The militia. The people being so armed responding to open conflict on American soil. That is the militia. All the rest of this, the self-defense, if you're not defending somebody else's life, you're not taking part in the militia situation. So let's be real clear about what actually covers your right to self-defense. It's in the preamble of the Constitution, and it's the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Your right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The right to your person, property, papers, and effects. To be unharassed without warrant writ by a justice of the peace and 2 witnesses who can corroborate. That is your right. So if you're defending others' lives, that is a militia action. That is definitely under the Second Amendment. You are providing for the common defense and standing to the defense of the Commonwealth. That's what that is. You're defending others within the community from harm, from physical harm, which may or may not cause injury or death. That is what you are defending them against. That is militia action. You're defending your home from invaders. You're defending your car from somebody stealing it from you. You're defending your dog from somebody shooting your dog. You're defending your, your plot of land, the paperwork that you have in your pocket, the money in your wallet. That is self-defense under the Fourth Amendment. Whatever the tool may be doesn't matter. What matters is the action. Do you intend to do others harm? Not as a consequence, but as a first strike objective. If that's the case, you're a felon. You're doing something in a felonious manner. Are you doing it as a defensive means? Then you're not doing it as a first strike. You are doing it as a response to a lethal threat, to a potentially lethal threat. That is what it is. Defense is a response. Offense is a first strike. It's proactive. It's not reactive. It's not responsive. It's a standalone singular action. That's what I'm talking about here. Weigh defense with offense. Some people say that the best defense is a good offense. In some respects, that's the case. However, in order for it to qualify as defense, even though it is an offensive action, in order for it to qualify as defense, it has to be a secondary action. It has to be the second action taken, not the first. Something I learned, by the way. When it comes down to a fight, the first person to throw the punch is the one who's creating the assault. The second person to throw a punch is the one who's defending. Unless you accept mutual combat, in which case neither person is assaulting and neither person is defending. They are in mutual combat. See, this is where I think that most of our countrymen, our kin, have failed. They try not to define defensive actions because there's really, there's no written criteria for it. It's common sense criteria. That's why I'm sitting here telling you what it is, because it's common sense. Common sense is that a second action is considered defensive. A first action is considered offensive. That's common sense. You don't have to be the rocket scientist to figure out that the first person to start a fight is the one who is creating the assault. Okay? Hell, you don't even have to be a lawyer. That just creates good judgment. Now, when you start defending others, that's when things get a little hairy, a little dicey. Because while it may be that you were not directly assaulted or you were not directly affected, you taking that opportunity is a first action, a first in the realization of the situation. However, because somebody else is already a threat, it's still a defensive action because it's still the secondary action. It's confusing as hell. And a lot of people can get confused inside of a courtroom because of that. The way I look at it as, if somebody raises a firearm and points it at you, that is a first strike action. Now, if they point it at you and they're like, ha, 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 see, whatever. That's really fucking stupid. You could have shot me. Great. Happy you liked your life. You got your jollies off. Somebody pointing a gun at you with intent, that's a different story. You've got milliseconds to react. And that's the reality of self-defense, is that you have to react. So those milliseconds count. Defending somebody else, they have the assailant has their focus on the individual that you are protecting, not on you. It gives you that added millisecond between looking like average Joe and now looking like a threat. That's what it comes down to. Because you are the second person, that response, mind you, is defense. If you were to pull your gun because you see somebody who has a gun, that's not a response. That's a primary action. That's really stupid. You see somebody walking down the street with a gun on their back, like you see me right now, just walking down the street. Got my hand on the freaking strap. That's not brandishing a weapon. If you were to draw a gun on that person, or you say, draw a gun on me, you have committed the primary action. Now, I've got a gun on my back. Big fucking whoop. Because you drew a gun and pointed it at me, you committed the primary action. I'm not pointing my gun at anybody. You pointing the gun at me creates the primary action. Now, if I've got the gun out, okay, just over clear, safety's on, all right. If I've got the gun out and I've got it pointed, all right, now that becomes a primary action. That does not mean that is cause for somebody to shoot you. You haven't shot anybody yet. Okay, that's still primary action, but you're not shooting anybody. You're not pulling the trigger. Your safety's on. You're not doing anything to anyone. That's the time for talking. That safety comes off. The time for talking's over. And that's what situational awareness will do for you. You could potentially talk down a situation where otherwise you would have normally utilized that firearm. Every situation is different. All right. Some people aren't going to listen to you. They just don't know that they have the safety on, which is pretty stupid, but others, they know their safety's on. They don't really want to pull that trigger. They just want to intimidate. In fact, they really don't want to pull that trigger, but they just want to intimidate. In a primary action. In a secondary action, you got to think of it as that individual is scared. They don't know what they're doing. Their training has gone by the wayside, and they're just going off of pure instinct at this point. Point the gun, scare the individual, intimidate. They haven't thought about slip the safety off in case you need it to be off. Like I said, every instance is different. You don't know until you've already had those slugs fly. And then in that situation, you only have one response. Stop the threat. Now, I'm a big proponent of self-defense. Folks will probably bash me till the day I die about when it comes down to self-defense. But the reality is, I've been without defensive capabilities. I've been in the situation where I needed to defend myself and did not have And to anyone who would tell me that you shouldn't have, I'll tell you this. Go spend about a fucking 3 weeks down there in Watts, California. Go ahead. I'll wait. It isn't going to work out for you, but I'll wait. And that's my point. My situational awareness was pretty good at the time, but at the same time, my living conditions were shit. I could not do anything to balance it because I was out of money. I was out of anything to be able to do anything with. I was hoping to go somewhere where I could make money and make a living and have a life. And instead, all of that got taken from me because I did not have. In the situation of being the have-not, fuck everything and run. Don't do what I did. Don't stand your ground. Fuck everything and run. You're better off. You're going to survive, more likely, if you run. In the instance that, running is likely to get you killed. And you know that not running is likely to have the slightest form of survival. Fight back. Fight back hard. You're not going to get another chance. And when you have the opening, run. Don't wait around to try and figure things out. Don't wait for the cops to show up. Run. You can figure it out later. Now, yes, being roughly slammed against the top of a fucking cop cruiser sucks. I won't deny that. I've got our floating rib that if they slam me into the top of a cop cruiser, it might just shoot through my lungs. It's a hell of a lot better than being shot to death. Hell of a lot better than being beaten to death. The reason I've got that floating rib is because I was almost beaten to death. So take what I'm saying and build on it. Lots of guys who tell me, why would you carry an air gun? Why would you carry an air gun into a situation? Well, because the air gun's reliable. To a fault. I know that if there's lead in the barrel and there's a charge in the air gun, it will sling that lead down range with enough potential to kill. Everything else is elementary. Everything else is the same as if you're carrying a firearm. Body armor exists nowadays that will stop most, if not all, civilian available firearms rounds. Which I hear all these these gun control enthusiasts sitting there being butthurt and saying, well, you shouldn't have a gun, and then they don't go and buy body armor. See, it's not that they don't want you. It's not that they don't want to get shot. It's that they don't want you to have a gun. Plain and simple. They don't want you to have a gun. They don't care about getting shot. Because if they actually cared about getting shot, they go and they buy body armor. They buy a gun. They do it themselves so they wouldn't have to get hurt. Instead, they just want to sit there and whine and complain. It's all that crybaby bullshit over nothing. And in the meantime, those who really need that kind of personal defense capability can't get it. Let me put it to you this way. The fellow that stabbed me in the chest got away with it. He is a free fucking man. Let that sink in for a second. Let that get to you. The man who stabbed me in the chest with my own fucking knife after I defended myself is a free man. Are you willing to take that risk? This is a guy who can literally walk down the street, drop a bunch of fucking C notes on the top of the table, and walk away with an AK right now. I know where he'd get it, and I know who the guy is who'd sell it to him. That's no lie. That's no bullshit. And I want you to imagine for a second that this individual started the fight, put me in the hospital, and on top of all that, got away with it because of California's courts. And I'm still fucking butthurt over this after 10 fucking years. Well, more than 10. No, 10 years. 11 years now. Christmas Day, 2012. I want you to think about that for a moment. Is there a good reason for me to have a firearm? Yeah. Can I get a firearm? No. Why is that? It's because they don't like what I have to say. So they'd rather be able to suppress it. The only thing is they can't get everybody involved in getting air guns off the streets and black powder guns off the streets until they've already taken away all the fucking modern firearms. Because that way they can do it without having a response. That's why I want you to keep your firearms. It's also why I want you to get air guns. So that you're just as much invested as I am, if not more so. I'll tell you something, man. Getting stabbed in the chest, it will rearrange your fucking priorities really fast. It will make you think twice about your entire life's decisions at the speed of light. There are some days I wish I would have told my mom to go and stuff it. Trying to put me in those fucking mental wards instead of me catching a case as a kid. Honestly, I'd have been better off if I would have caught the case. There would have been a route back. And I'd have been wiser for it. Instead, I didn't catch a case. I just got stuck in a fucking loony bin. For 6 fucking years. 4 of that, I was in a fucking lockdown facility. Level 12, level 14, lockdown facility. The reason being, well, that countryside comes out of me when somebody tries to step on my dick. Imagine for a second. I was raised to be an American, not to be some fucking Chi-Com sympathizing Marxist bastard. That was a rebellious phase in my life. I am well over it. I want for free market. I want for liberty. I want for logic, reason, sensibility. Logically speaking, every human being would want to be armed with the most effective arms available if we were being invaded by an alien race. What makes it any different? Yeah, we're all human, and I don't intend to kill you. But there's plenty of people out there that intend to kill me. There's plenty of people that fucking hate my guts. You know what? That doesn't bother me as much as not having the ability to have a firearm. Having an air gun, well, that's a band-aid on a sucking chest wound, in my opinion. But I'd rather have the band-aid than have nothing. Honest God truth. Now, you can hate me all you want. I've got a lot of people who hate me. Specifically because I try to walk the straight and narrow and be the good dude and be the guy that's going to, always have your back sort of thing. And, walk away from my enemies. Now, just because I walk away from my enemies doesn't mean I won't turn around and fucking slap the taste out of motherfuckers' mouth if they chase me. It's a big deal for me. I just don't want the conflict. I want to be the guy who can walk away and be like, yeah, no, it's no problem. But until somebody allows me to walk away, I can't. It's not so much of I feel like I'm any less or I feel like I'm, being a coward by doing it. No. What bothers me is that when I walk away, I'm turning my back to somebody who has hostile intent for me. That's what I mean. I want them to turn around before I do. Not because I'm going to attack them, but because I'm going to walk away. But I need them to not attack me. It's basic logic and reason. Can't be mad at me for using it, right? But apparently, that is not the case. They want to be mad at you for just being a human being who knows the fuck is going on and knows what they're doing. Imagine for a minute the kind of person that I would be if I didn't have to be so militarized. I'd probably be the nicest person you ever met in your life. And before you ask, yes, that's weed. Think I care? Can't have a firearm. And there's no stipulation on that with air guns. So, winning again. That's the whole idea behind having the most effective tool for the job that you can supply yourself with. Are there more effective tools out there? Yes. Sure. Will they work for all jobs? No. Are there some jobs where certain niche products are necessary? Yes. And honestly, those niche situations are what I prep for. Most people are prepping for, the revolution or the, economic turmoil or small situations in everyday life. I'm prepping for the long haul. I'm prepping for a situation where I will have no electricity. Food will be damn near impossible to find. Water will be an essential of life, and relying on store-bought products makes that a threat to my overall longevity. If you're only able to survive for 1 year because you've got the products, on hand to survive 1 year, what good does that do you 3 years down the road? It's questions like that actually got me to where I am. I can literally grab garbage off the side of the fucking road, fucking boil a gallon of water, filter it, and now I've got a gallon of drinking water, drinkable water, safe to drink, in a situation where otherwise I would not. And I didn't have to spend a dime to do it. That's actually very important to me, because here's the thing. That year down the road, stores may not be open yet. You may not be able to get those products yet. But you still got to eat. You still got to drink. You still got to, be able to wash yourself. You still got to be able to provide food for your family. You still got to be able to provide defense for your compound, for your home, for your family. And in the situation of Grid Down, in the situation of Titwaki, in the situation of Solar Micronova and, planet-wide upheaval, those things are not going to be there. You will be. Whether you live or die is up to you, because you have to provide for your needs and for your wants instead of just for your wants. This is a realization I came to as a young man when I was living out there in the middle of the fucking desert on the Colorado River, surviving off of what I could hunt with a .22 long rifle. Bolt action with a broken extractor, mind you. So effectively, I had a single shot .22 long rifle. I survived for over 6 months on my own. My dad would come out there and, come out and hang out and check on me and shit. Maybe bring, some small supplies or something that he felt like he wanted to bring. The rest of the time, I was on my own. Nobody coming to save me. Nobody coming to help me. I was all by myself. The police weren't coming out to fucking remove my ass and put me in chains and fucking throw me in a freaking cell. They didn't care. The fire department wasn't coming out there. I put out fires down there. I put out fucking wildfires down there. And funny enough, I put out 2 wildfires, walked all the way to the gas station, which was probably, 4 or 5 miles away. reported the wildfires, walked back, and continued to put the fires out. Fire department didn't show up. Funny enough, it was a car driving down the dirt road out there, saw me collapse from heat exhaustion. They ran out, dragged me out of the way of the fire, and then called 911 and got the freaking ambulance there to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital because I had given myself heat exhaustion and dehydration fighting fires. And that's what people don't know about me is I've done things in the past to protect whole communities all by my own little lonesome. They probably don't even know it even happened. Yet folks are real quick to throw around that finger, you know. They're real quick to say you did this and you did that and you did everything else. And see, that's the thing. I don't point fingers. I mean, I do point fingers sometimes because people are just stupid enough to go and put themselves in that situation. But it's more of a kind of, I want to try and help you. That's not always the case, but you know, most of the time I want to try and help you. I could see confusion. I could see folks when they're a little lost, or you know, we have differing opinions, and you know, I noticed that their opinion is based on flawed basis, and I turn around and I say, okay, well, here, let me show you this, that, and the other, and I'll argue this point, and then I'll leave it. At some point, I go, you know what? It's not worth it. And I walk away from the computer and I go, all right, well, go ahead and believe whatever the fuck you want. Because that's up to you. But at the end of the day, I sleep safely. I sleep soundly like a damn baby when I do sleep. I'm not butthurt about somebody else having a firearm. I've got an air gun. When it comes down to, deadly weapons, the deadly weapon is your brain. The tool is the air gun or the firearm, or the axe or the rapier or the machete or the boot knife or the club or the feet and fists or a hammer. That's a tool. The weapon is your brain. Are you armed? As I am. Imagine for a second your whole existence growing up, hunting, fishing, staying out all night in the woods and hanging out with your buddies, or doing a hunt fishing camp with your parents, or you're just your dad, or you're just your mom, or whatever, just your brother or sister, going out with your cousins, going hunting and stuff like that. That moment of bonding, that moment of enjoyment that you get out of it. That's my entire life. It was. Are you done? Hey. Nobody over there, who? Leave him be. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. I'll be right back. You just call for in. In silence. Sorry. Where was I? I don't give a fuck. It's a party. Smoky Toky Round time. That's the way I look at it. No sweat. Fuck the bullshit. It's all good. I understand that y'all can't see me all that well. I understand that. Listen, I am outside. I'm out in the woods. Or not really in the woods, but, in my backyard and whatnot. Here, let me go ahead and do this so that you're not staring at a black screen. There you go. Now you can see my face. Fugly as hell. What'd I say? You do silence. Und. Go to lane. Yeah, he's being an attention hog again. So anyways, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Oh, dear me, the sky is falling. KC, good to see you. Oh, cheers. Yeah, I'm having me some of that Grange Finger. Some of that Happy Slappy. That stinky green. Ugh. So, yeah, it really comes down to what are you comfortable with? Honestly. I mean, I'm not going to care much how somebody survives. I'm going to care that they survive. Let that sink in a minute. I don't care about how you survive. Because in all reality, we're all just trying to survive. We're all just trying to live life. What's most important is that we live life. What's most important is is the fact that we survive, not how we do it. Because the reality is going to come to you real sharp and quick. And I know this because it's not just it's in the geological record and all that other let's go jump down a rabbit hole here sort of shit. I'm just saying it literally comes down to matter of if you survive, you have knowledge from before all the shit went down that you can utilize to then turn around and rebuild society. Never lose focus. If we can do that, we can get over the Great Filter. Now, what is the Great Filter? It's a question I've heard a lot from folks. And it kind of comes up in a lot of different science fiction and whatnot. And being that I write science fiction to an extent, I kind of have a little bit of a good grasp on it. I also understand. I also understand it because of the fact that I do astrophysics as kind of like a side hobby. So, you take this with a grain of salt. Of course, I'm very knowledgeable in this stuff, but I'm no Michio Kaku, okay? Don't take me as like the topmost professor, this, that, or the other, Professor X or that. I just know a lot. And that's what I'm talking about here with the Great Filter. The Great Filter is a situation where a sentient species finds a make or break point in their existence to where either they cause their own extinction or they become a spacefaring intergalactic species. Galactic and intergalactic species. We can get over the Great Filter. That's what I was on about. And that's one of the reasons why I'm big on survival, is that people who have these skills, people who have like all of this pre-existing knowledge, they're going to be more important than you think. And they're going to be the people who we need in order to get, once we've gotten through the hard times, they're the ones that help us get past that Great Filter. And the question isn't so much, are we going to go extinct as a species? That's why I think we've already somewhat passed the Great Filter. But again, it's a matter of, I think, for the most part, this is theoretical, mind you, we've already passed our Great Filter. Now we have to pass the Great Filter of the cosmos. All right. And what the Great Filter of the cosmos is everything that the galaxy and the wider universe can throw at us. So that's, we're already a spacefaring species. We've gone to low Earth orbit. We've gone to other worlds, most namely our moon. But, as far as that goes, we're a spacefaring species. If, therefore, we are a spacefaring species, we are one step away from being a galactic species by the nature of technology. We're that one micro step from being such. And in order to do so, we have to have these people who have already created all of this other and know all of this other stuff in order to have the foundations for that growth. And so survival is going to be tantamount for everybody, especially with what I believe is coming. I personally, looking at the science, all of it, not just like, okay, well, this is what the scientists say. No, this is what the scientists have hypothesized, and this is what we have observed, and this is what we have experimented and observed through experimentation, and this is how we reproduced it in a lab, and this is this and that and the other, and this is what we believe, therefore, is inferred because of that, and the multitude of other science that has also been proved. That's what I go by. So when I turn around and I say, solar micronova is a thing. Recurrent solar micronova is also a thing. And not only that, but our species has survived it in the past without all this fancy fucking technology. Let that sink in for you for just a moment. Humanity has survived this without all of this fancy technology. This is the first time we have ever been so technologically advanced, per se. That's what they think. Okay. I personally believe we've been at least to this point of technological advancement twice in human history. But being that this is our first experience with it, because we don't have the evidence written down, we say, okay, well, we survived it without all this bullshit. Why couldn't we survive this one? Is it that the last several times it's been those people who had those technological advancements that could not survive without the technological advancements? Therefore, we lost that technology. That's what I think. and this is why I put so much emphasis on, yes, we know how to use computers, we know how to use the internet, we know how to, do electrical, and we know how to do plumbing, and we know how to do construction, and we know how to do um, smithing, and welding, and all this other fun stuff. All right, mechanics and whatnot. Fine. Do you know how to survive? When was the last time you were tested? And when I say tested, I mean really, really tested. Because the last time I was tested was only probably about, see here, 2019. Last time I tested myself to see if I could survive out in the woods and with nothing. And I could do it for about 3 or 4 days without having to find a toilet. If I do it the wrong way. If I do it the right way, well, I can go for a couple weeks. At least that's how far I was willing to test myself. It didn't mean that I couldn't continue to do it. It just meant that I was finally fed up with it. It got monotonous and I was a little bored. So I went back to doing, other things. Just the time I allotted myself for testing myself to see if I could do it. And, and this is after having done it before. Sure. So I have that experience, but at the same time, skills get rusty. Your skills can get crusty if you don't work on them. It's actually why I put an emphasis on doing tasks that reinforce those survival skills. Like, for instance, forging. Forging steel. You have to make a fire. Now, sure, it's easier to do it with gasoline. You get more done quickly, things like that. Gasoline, kerosene, lighter fluid, which is kerosene, by the way, and wood, and you get things going. But the ability to light a fire doesn't necessarily have to be with gasoline. You just need to know how to do it. And there's a lot of different work that I do where I don't want to have gasoline in the forge for that. So there's sometimes I light fires without using gas to start it. Kerosene. So for that instance, I'd like to say that I still practice lighting fires without anything special. And again, having the knowledge that I do and having been where I've been and what I've been through gives me that little edge. That's why I implore other people to get out there and learn, to go and find out what it is that you can do to affect your survival. Be better at it. There's probably a few people that know this. I spent about 3 weeks on Amelia Island out on Pirates Cove in a one-man pup tent with just basic survival gear, fishing pole, my 22 long rifle, sleeping bag, and a couple of water jugs, and a bicycle and a trailer. Literally, that's all that I had. 100%. Small caliber firearm. It was a full rifle. It was a bolt action rifle, but like I said, I used to have a Marlin Model 95. Anyways, I've always been this kind of, I like accuracy. I like doing things the hard fucking way, because the hard way, while it may be more difficult, honestly enough, Not only is it more fulfilling, but others are less likely to do it that way, which opens a niche for you, makes you worth more. Small things like that you can increase your survivability with. Be useful. All right. And when I say be useful, I don't mean be a useful fucking idiot. I mean, in a shit hits the fan situation, be useful to your community, be useful to your nearby neighbors and whatnot. Because the reality is, the more use you are, the more likely you are to have somebody back you up. That's reality right there. That's not going off of bias. If you're useful to somebody, they're going to turn around and be willing to invest more in you. If you're just, an emotional attachment, I don't know if you guys know this, but human beings in general, we are built psychologically to be able to compartmentalize when survival is involved. And so we could end up being bitter to individuals who are, we would normally care about. That's why I say don't just be somebody who's of an emotional connection. Be somebody who's of a useful connection, a physically useful connection. Now, that might just come down to, knitting scarves and wool socks and stuff. I mean, it's still fucking useful as hell. You need clothes. All right? But at the same time, can you hunt? Can you fish? Can you respond to a deadly threat? Can you respond to a military threat? Can you respond to a fire? How are you going to do all of these things? Can you survive in the woods because you got chased out there into the middle of nothing by some crazy motherfuckers hell-bent on destroying your life and have already taken over your property? How are you going to survive in the woods long enough to be able to take it back? I want you to think about that for a second, because that is a situation that will arise. When it comes down to shit hits the fan, Tetwaki, whatever, all right, the end of the world as we know it, rule without rule of law. If it comes down to that sort of a thing, and people try to take from you, are you going to die on that hill, or are you going to quickly get away and come back with far more strategic capability and possibly more force? Personally, I like the force multiplier of being able to get the fuck away and come back with it, when they're not looking. Sure, I'm probably going to end up losing shit. Do I need all of it to survive? No. Does it make my survival better? Easier? Yes. Does it give me other capabilities? Mm-hmm. Is there a possibility that if somebody comes to my home looking to cause me harm and whatnot, and I get myself away and they squat, that I can't then come back to my home, take away what they utilized, and make it mine? Because they stole from me. It's tit for tat in that situation. I want you to remember that. We're beyond rule of law. We're beyond the world as we know it. We're beyond regular every day. Where now and shit it's a fan, where the situation has become dire enough that you are the only one responding to your need for help. Okay? That's the situation. Are you just going to let that person take away from you? I personally can't. It's not that I don't want to. Because personally, I'd rather walk the other direction, like I've told you. But if somebody is going to be taking from me things that I actually need, I want to be able to take them back. And to put it in the words of Hollyweird, I have a right by God to take back what is mine. And I would ask you, we are all in agreement in that. And if I have to take back what is mine and therefore end up having to do so with violence, then that individual who took from me ends up losing their life. Does that mean that I need to bury them with their rifle, be super chivalrous, and give them all their bombs and their fun little shit that they had that they tried to attack me with? Or do I take that for myself, add it to my inventory, and utilize it like I should, according to the art of war? See, that's my point. You have to make this decision for yourself. I've already made it for myself. I will personally come back and assault my own property should somebody take it from me by force. If somebody should take it from me by purchase, that's different. That's a mutually beneficial agreement. That's different. It's no longer my property in that point. But by force means that they stole it. They took it without asking. They took it without monetary compensation or any other compensation for that matter. In that situation, it's going to be barter and trade, of course. You go throwing that around, that the reality of the situation is a very ugly one. People are going to try and take from you. Now, I've said that before, I'll say it again. In that situation, people are going to be everything for me and fuck you all. Being mutually beneficial is not going to be something that's going to be a concern. Nobody's going to want to be concerned with all that. Because why? It's too much to think about. You're burning too many calories to give a fuck about someone else. That's when we become back to our baser instincts. Memories are going to be what's most useful. If we can start to rebuild society right off of the bat, I believe we can come back from even the worst that the cosmos can throw at us. I believe we have in the past. But we need to get our asses in gear and not do this whole 3,000 years to get something rolling. Or 6,000 years to get something rolling. Or 10,000 years to get something rolling. We need to be on point with that, just like the moment shit goes down. Go back to the old archives, grab up the information we need. Don't burn it to the fucking ground. Grab up the information we need, and then utilize that to rebuild society. That's the way that everybody in America should be thinking, but I don't think that they do. I think it's all about me, and fuck the world has become the mainstay site that we sit at. That's the mainstay of our mindsets, and we need to stop thinking that way. A people united can never be defeated. Quoting Tom McDonald right there. A people united can never be defeated. Honest to God truth, man. And how are you going to rebuild society all by yourself? You can't do that. Nobody can. I mean, sure, all of us think that we can because we have the knowledge. But one individual working their ass off isn't going to get it done. Sure, it might get most of it done. It might get it most of the way there, but you're going to die before you get it done. And the reason being is because you burn out. But if two people are working on the situation, you can stay focused and you won't burn out. If 3 people are working on the situation, you get it done faster. And you see how that works. It's cumulative. You get 6 people working on the situation, all of a sudden it's become not so much of a insurmountable task, but something you might just accomplish. You get 100 people working on it. And now we're really talking. Cooking with bacon grease. Get her done. That's the way I look at it. If we can come together, because there's going to be situations, there's going to be times where we're not going to be having the luxury of arguing with each other over bullshit. I cannot give a fuck less if you shot somebody in your past, because that's a reality. It happens. You're not going to be able to give a fuck less if I fucking gutted a deer. You're not going to give a fuck less if I fucking fought a bear hand to hand. You're not going to care. It's not important. What's important is rebuilding society from the ground up, because that's where it's going to be. We're already in the throes of this. And this is something that I've been wondering about for a long time, but I've been watching it happen. And that's why I subscribe so much to what Ben tells me, or tells us, really. The rest of the suspicious observers. That's why I subscribe to that. Because it's giving you information you may need. It's giving you information you might actually be able to utilize. If you know, like I do, I'm poor as a fucking day is long. I am poor. I can't afford $350, $400 freaking textbooks. You know, I can't afford $30,000, $40,000 for a plot of land over in Colorado. You know, on what he's got there, the place there. And it's not anything personal. I don't hate the guy. Not that I'm against what he's doing. I think that's a very righteous way of going about it. It's more of a matter of there's no way for me to sustainably be able to go and put back into it other than my skills. I don't have the money for it. That's my major shortcoming in life, is I don't have money. I've never had money. I live on the absolute bottom scrapings of the barrel that everybody else leaves behind. And it used to be that I had, you know, quite a bit of money. I did pretty well for myself. I worked hard. I had a job. I had all the niceties, and I paid my dues, did my thing, and now I ain't got all that. I'm good with it. I still have my freedom. I still have the liberty to be me. That's where I come in as I have survived. That's what I see in that. So what I want you to take away from all this, what I want you to find is your understanding here. Don't hate on others or laugh at others just because they're not doing things your way. Find out why they might be doing it their way. If it makes no logical sense or reason, then don't do it. But if it's got some good sense behind it, if it's got some good logic and reason behind it, find out why they do it. Find out what it does and how it might help you. And Hoosiers, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Freedom Forum. I have been your host this evening, Ye Olde Guardsman Nam, a.k.a. a Chicken Little. Y'all stay happy and free out there. Pursue your happiness no matter the cost. Stay alive. Stay free. Y'all, I'm out. This has been Ye Olde Guardsman Nam. And motherfuckers, I'm out.